Welcome to the Viva Vegan Podcast with me, Faye.
And me, Lex.
Gardner's best known for being on the reality show Geordie Shore and was featured in series 1, 2, 3. Jay went vegan after his dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he's since established JG Fitness and is a self-confessed health obsessive. It might seem like an unlikely U-turn to anyone who only knows him from his wild Geordie Shore partying days, but as Jay is happy to attest, for anyone concerned about their health, it's the simplest way to make an impactful change. Full disclosure, the interview does feature two Geordies, speaking very fast.
Jay, when you were younger and growing up and things like that, were you ever kind of aware of veganism?
Nah, not at all. When I was growing up, I didn't have a clue. I obviously grew up and I was eating everything that you could imagine eating, in terms of meat and dairy and all that kind of thing. When you're a kid, a young kid growing up, it's not something I ever thought about really. You kind of just eat what your family would eat type of thing. I mean, we were quite healthy when we were younger, but not to the extent that where I'm at now. And obviously when I was younger, the internet wasn't there. So there was not really, I didn't have computers and phones when I was younger, obviously until I started going into my teens. So growing up as a really young lad, not at all veganism really didn't come into my mind, obviously until I actually went vegan. But not until later on in life when you're a bit more aware, and I was into my health and fitness and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and again, vegetarian was always out there.
Yeah.
But vegan was it just wasn't. And to be fair, I mean, even when I turned vegan, I've always said that there'd be certain alternatives that would never, ever exist, one of them being steak. Because when I went vegan, it didn't exist. And I thought, well, I just have to kind of get around that one and not have anything like it ever. But 3.5 years on, lo and behold, we've got loads of different types of vegan steaks out there, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, I mean, even 10 years ago, it's not something that ever even crossed my mind.
Just for our listeners who are various ages, you kind of rose to fame with Geordie Shore and things like that when you were quite a bit younger. Can you just sort of, for anyone who doesn't know what that is and how that came about, can you just give us a little bit of background around that?
Yeah, so I mean, Geordie Shore's still going now, but I went in the very first series. At the time, they put 4 lads, 4 girls in the house, and we were just doing what every other young person would do across the country, across the globe. We were going out partying, and we were just having fun, really. We travelled the globe doing it. We lived in a house for a few weeks and filmed everything. And yeah, we just out partying, having fun, really. And like I say, that's still going to this day. But it's been really successful. It's on MTV. It's in a lot of countries, going from the UK. It's going right across Europe into Australia. Yeah, it's really, it's a successful show, really, and it's still going.
How was it for you being, just kind of young, I guess, and getting kind of catapulted into that sort of celebrity lifestyle, really, and, going out on the big market and things and everybody knowing who you are?
It was really strange because, like I say, when I started doing it in the UK, there wasn't really anything like that. I mean, the only reality shows back then was they had the Big Brothers, which was kind of a one-off thing. You'd go in there. I mean, once you've been in Big Brother, you wouldn't be going back in it. And then the other reality shows was the likes of your X Factors and stuff, which was completely, completely different. So when Geordie Shore come about, we were out, we were drinking, and we were in clubs, and it was a little bit out there. But I mean, it was, like I said, it's what young people do on a weekend. So it did create a lot of attention. But when I went in, I was a quantity surveyor beforehand, and I actually got made redundant a couple of months before I started trying to cast for Geordie Shore. So I went in there just like anybody else, just a normal person. I still am a normal person, but obviously I did catapult myself onto TV. And I remember we were in there for 6 weeks. We weren't allowed with phones. We weren't even allowed to look at a newspaper.
Oh,
And
wow.
I come out of there and it felt really bizarre. I remember being in Newcastle and it hadn't even aired yet, but the adverts and everything were out on TV. And loads of people started coming up to us and were shouting my name, and they were wanting pictures and stuff. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, and my mate was like, oh my God, is this what's going to be like? Is this what's going to be like for you now? Because everywhere you go and people were like saying your name, asking you for pictures and this. And it was just really weird. But I mean, it's just part and parcel of going on the TV. But at the time, like I said, we didn't know how it was going to react. We didn't know if it was going to be successful, if there was going to be another one. Was it the first and last one? Would it flop? We didn't have a clue because we were the first ones in there. We always said we were like kind of gerbils at the time,
Yeah.
because we didn't have a clue what was going on in all sense of the matter. We just going in there and we just had fun with it, and we were just getting filmed really. And then obviously we done another one, and it just went from there, and it just catapulted.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a huge phenomenon. I remember it. I have to ask though, was it honestly? Were you down in that much vodka every day, or was some of it water? Was it day on day, or were you having a bit of a break in between?
No, when we used to do it back in the day, it was hardcore. It was full on. We were doing six six nights and 6 days a week, and then we had a down day where we done green screen, and that was for like 5 weeks. But no, I mean, especially back in the day, it's definitely more controlled. It's more measured now in regards
Yeah.
to what you drink, and they write down everything that you drink and every single individual. So it's definitely more monitored now. But back in the day, we could we
You
drank what
could
we
hold
wanted.
you could hold it.
I mean, we walked in. I remember walking in that first one, and they had a American fridge freezer, and the fridge was just full of drink. There wasn't any food in there; it was just drink. They would never ever do now. It just
No.
unheard of now. But back in the day, yeah, I mean, I remember the lads going. We were going to the gym and then come back having some food, and we were just cracking open cracking open drinks and sitting by the jacuzzi at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just waiting to start filming and stuff. If we weren't, when we done Cancun, that was hardcore because we were literally out through the day doing an event, and then we were drinking during the day. We were coming back, having a couple of hours downtime, and then out on the night. So we were kind of hitting two hangovers. They were long days because we got back at 3, 4 in the morning. Then we were up in the house messing around, whatever we done, and the lads were out at the gym at about 7 in the morning because that's the only time we could fit it in. So we were still training, still absolutely smashed, really.
It's amazing though, isn't it? Because it's kind of like you go into the gym and you've got that really healthy side to you, and then it's like it's counteracting all the damage that's going on as well, and then you're still dancing around. Were you exhausted at the end of it, or were you just all right?
Yeah, back then we were absolutely hammered. I mean, week 4, I think, as the time got on, like some were trying to start the gym, the lads were like, "No, come on, let's just head it, let's just go." By week 4, I think we all sacked it off. But I mean, I look back now, and there's no way I could do what I used to do. It would just be physically impossible. But in my 20s, I could do it.
Yeah.
It's, your body can recover, your body can go through quite a bit of hammering when you're younger, but there's no way. Even if I've been on a night out now, there's no way I'd be at the gym the next day.
So, Jay, what was it that sparked the health and fitness route for you?
I mean, this is the thing. I've always trained. Like in my adult life, I've always trained. Even when I was younger, I used to watch like the strongmen and all that kind of stuff growing up, and I used to just there's something I just loved about it, and I loved that look, like that muscly physique. So when I was 17, 18, I started training, and then I got quite seriously into it. But again, always into the party lifestyle as well. But I actually thought, because I was training and I was eating, I was eating I was eating some healthy foods at the time, and I thought, well, if I'm eating some healthy foods, I'm healthy. Um, and that's kind of how I lived for my whole 20s, really. When I turned vegan, it was actually when the World Cup was on in 2018. I remember that World Cup. I was literally drinking beers, watching the World Cup, and eating hot dogs. And literally, 3 months later, I look back at that and thought, what the hell was I doing? It's hot dogs now, because I started doing research. I was like, dude, I'm sick of where I'm at the moment. I want to just go really, really healthy.
Yeah.
And I started researching the healthiest diets on the planet all around the world, and what they were doing and what they were putting into their nutrition, their diet, like on a daily basis. And a lot of it was always talking about cutting down on your meat, cut down on your meat, cut it down. So I did cut it down, but I cut it down for about a couple of weeks because I still carried on research and the healthiest diets, and vegan come up, which is
Mm.
basically cut out everything. But bear in mind, I used to eat everything. So I mean, my diet would have consisted of like 3 chicken breasts a day. I used to drink milk from the
Oh.
glass like it was water. Um, Obviously, if I ate chocolate, anything, it'd all have your dairy products in. I would eat cheese, you name it, everything it had in it would have been dairy or meat, basically, whether it was something, a product that would have had dairy within it to make it or anything like that. So I kind of just literally just flipped my diet upside down within the space of, by the time I'd literally done it within a day, I woke up and says, right, I'm cutting out that meat completely. And I'm going vegan, and I ordered a load of stuff from online because it was quite hard to get this stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm quite fanatical as well. So I'm either all or nothing. So I would never just be like, oh, well, I'll cut my meat down to the point where I'm having just 1 steak or 2 steaks a week, because then I'm not vegan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when I went vegan, I thought, right, that is what I'm doing. And when I'd done it, I felt unbelievable. I've never felt like that in my life. It was like somebody gave us something. I just felt insane. The energy I had, my head was so clear. It was next level. So I thought, well, this is obviously doing something to the point where it's good for us.
Yeah.
And then I carried on researching it and all the foods and why obviously I wouldn't eat meat and stuff. And one of the reasons was as well is because later on in life, and I know obviously people might think, oh, well, it's a little bit early to think about it and whatnot. But again, this is just me. I am fanatical with things, but I don't want to. I don't want to be sat on me. And again, it's a bit morbid to think of this, but I don't want to be sat on my deathbed thinking, do you know what? I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I could have prevented this, or tried my best to not be in this position that I'm in now. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And even more so because obviously I've witnessed people going through cancer, dying through cancer, and it's the worst thing ever. And all the research that I was steering towards was all saying that 90 to 95% of your chronic disease is based around your diet. So whatever you eat either feeds disease or kills it.
Yeah.
And a lot of your vegan foods, your fruit, your veg, you increase your fiber intake, all of that kills it. But a lot of the stuff that I used to do, your steaks, all those hot dogs that I had in the 2018 World Cup, all that's it's processed meat, which
Yeah,
is
it's the worst, isn't it?
which I didn't realize at the time until I started doing all my research on it. It's type 1 carcinogenic, so they put that up there with cigarettes, which basically causes you cancer. Hams and all these bacon and all. I never touched bacon anyways, but all that kind of stuff was that you're eating. And then I was looking into the dairy with the milk and the cancers that can potentially trigger. And I was drinking that by the glass, and obviously you don't need it. It's designed for the rapid growth of a baby calf, of a calf. So, and there's me drinking it by the glassful, even liters a day. So yeah, I just cut it all out. I felt great, and at that year, I remember I was at the doctors for a couple of things, and they'd done blood tests. They couldn't get rid of what it was. It's just niggly little things.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone. I've never had a headache since, unless it's because I've been out in the drink, and even then they're not that severe.
Mm-hmm.
My blood pressure has dropped into nice normal levels. My cholesterol's in the twos. Like everything is it's just much better, and I look a lot better now than I did when 7 years ago at the back end of my 20s as well. So, and like, don't get us wrong, like I say, I am fanatical. It got to the point where I was eating nearly 20 different fruit and vegetables every day, but it got to the point where I was like, I actually don't think I can sustain this. Like I do need to have like a happy medium where it's sustainable, because I just literally cannot eat all of this every single day. I enjoyed it, but it was just getting too much, because I was like, if I ran out of one thing, I was like, oh my god, like I need to get it, and I was rushing to get the shops, and then before you know it, a day or two, because it's all fresh produce, and then I'm at the shop again. I was like, look, I need to sort something out where I'm not at the shop virtually every day trying to keep this diet up.
Well, you can have a day where you only have like 16 fresh produce a day or something.
Yeah, so I've dropped it down where kind of like 10 just 10 to 12 is a bad day, and then 12 to 16 is a good day. But like, it's easy to have though, because in the morning I have a plate of fruit. I love it. Like, I have loads of different fruits in the morning, so I hit a lot with in that meal. And then in the afternoon, I'll have a plate where I'll have all my veg basically. So within 2 meals, I virtually get everything in it. And then if I want to have anything more, or I'll put it in like a soup or something. When I was younger, I was all about going to the gym, and it's like, right, you need to get your protein in. You need lots of protein, loads of protein, and that's why I was eating 3 chicken breasts a day. I didn't enjoy it at all. I hated it.
That's an interesting one, actually, because I hear that a lot, especially from men who go to the gym. You know, it's all about protein, isn't it? Protein shake this, and
Yeah.
make sure you get this. And I used to work with a lot of men who would work out every single lunchtime, which was fine. But then it would be like, I'd watch them just eat like a bit of greens with, you know, an entire chicken basically for lunch. And I'm thinking, that's way too much for you.
And this again, another thing. This is, your body doesn't actually, like, I went throughout, like, when I in my late teens and 20s, and it's like, right, protein, protein, protein. And all I need is more protein to build muscle. But your body doesn't actually need as much protein as what we actually think it does to build muscle. You can drop your protein intake, and I guarantee you won't lose that muscle. I've known a few people to do it. I knew a bodybuilder who, just to touch on it quickly, you know, he done bodybuilding. He's on stage, and he's quite older now, and he's dropped his protein intake, and he went, you know what? I went all these years thinking I need all this protein, and he doesn't.
There's a lot of myths, though, isn't there, around what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, especially with food. It's interesting you say you're quite fanatical about it. I interviewed Matt Pritchard,
Okay, yeah,
you know, another man who's who can party hard, and he just keeps going. Lovely guy,
yeah,
but he was the same. He was really fanatical, but mostly people you talk to, they kind of make that transition through like vegetarianism, or they cut back, and it's
yeah.
quite rare for someone to just wake up one day and go, right, I'm done. Like, from eating hot dogs and drinking like beers the day before to
Yeah,
just
like I
changing.
say, I did research it for a little bit, and I mean, I cut my meat down by about 2 weeks, and then it was just woke up and was just like, right, that's what I'm doing. But this is the thing for me. It was, at the time, it was purely health related, and I felt great. And like I said, within a few weeks, I noticed the health benefits. First off, I felt amazing, and then obviously I started noticing those health benefits with obviously going to the doctors, and what I had was just disappearing. I got my bloods done to see what I was intolerant to. And I remember this company that were posting all the stuff, and virtually everybody had milk on, and I thought, what? Like, how can everybody? This was even before. This was a few years before I even went vegan. I thought, how can virtually everybody, be intolerant to milk? I was like, are you making it up or what? But obviously later on down the line, when I started researching, I realised that about 80% of people are actually intolerant to the lactose in milk. Um, but these intolerances actually, you might not notice it because you've been drinking milk from a young age and all through your adult life, but they actually have a negative effect on your body. So whatever it may be, that might just pull you down a little bit. So all these different little intolerances that I might have had, well, it was eggs and milk for me, or whatever it was doing to my body, just disappeared as well. And you go into the likes of your supermarkets, and they've got these factories that are, obviously producing meat and stuff, and they're dropping it on the floor, and there's even been investigations, and there's feces on the meat that you're then eating, and they've come from not very well kept places, and they're just they're mass produced basically, and they're just feeding them with the cheapest produce you can get, and then you actually eat that produce because that's what the animal that you eat is eating, and it's not good for you. It's very unhealthy. It's crazy. I've seen a picture once as well. Obviously, again, it's all for it. It's a business at the end of the day, and it's all for money. And I remember seeing something like, oh, and they are animals. They get ill. They become sick, and it showed you a picture of like cancer of an animal, and they just cut it out, but then they'll sell the meat on. I used to eat a lot of salmon.
Yeah.
And I used to like the wild Alaskan salmon, but I then come to realize that salmon is like farmed salmon is one of the worst things you can actually eat.
And this is the thing now, salmon especially, it's all farmed. You've got lice,
Yeah,
it's
exactly
not even pink.
that.
People think
And then,
salmon's pink.
yeah, it's horrendous. They've got them in these small little nets up in Scotland, and they just feed them loads of again, rubbish, and they give them antibiotics and all this kind of stuff, and it it's it's crazy. And if one of them gets ill, it's actually because they're in such a confined space. If obviously each individual fish can catch it, then you've got a load of ill fish, but they'll still do their best to obviously try and keep that to sell. And then the
Mm.
next thing you know, you eat it. But wild Alaskan salmon, I believe you can only actually fish for it 3 months of the year legally.
You're now an online coach, aren't you? And you set up JG Fitness.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that something you talk to, people who are coming to you about as well around diet?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Every client's different in regards to their goals and what they want to get out of their program. But by all means, yes, I've helped a few people where they're actually vegan as well now, and they've switched their lifestyle around as well. Not like I say, not everyone's like that. Obviously, if someone comes onto my program, I've got all kind of different dietary requirements. Where if someone's eating meat, that's absolutely fine. If somebody's vegetarian, if somebody's lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant, I can provide that program for them, that nutritional program for them.
Mm.
So everyone's different, but yeah, by all means, I've had a couple of people who haven't been vegan. They've jumped on and they've asked me questions about it because obviously they know I'm vegan. I've sent over what I know, and before you know it, I spoke to someone, and 6 months later they were like, "You've changed my life." I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, I was asking you about all the vegan stuff. I've actually took it on board. I went out and I'm now vegan, and I feel amazing, and I'm not going to go back."
One of the hardest people to kind of come into veganism are quite often young men. Like, the
Yeah.
sort of 18 to 35-year-old men. And one of the things like Viva's working on at the moment is kind of targeting them through health and nutrition and going down the gym route and looking at easy ways to make those changes and, looking at recovery times and things like that from exercise on a vegan diet. Um, how have you found that? Because obviously you're the kind of man that other men are going to relate to,
I'm literally,
going
yeah,
to the gym and everything. So have you
I'm
found like
literally,
resistance or?
I'm literally in that category.
Yeah.
I'm banging that category, and this is the thing. With humans are very set in stone,
Mm.
so they don't like change. And what I've also noticed is people think about vegan stuff and think like, oh, that'll be horrible. That, oh, imagine eating that. And to be honest, a lot of things are just as nice, if not nicer. And
Mhm.
don't get us wrong, there are some replacements that are just absolutely horrible that you couldn't eat. I'll never be able to eat eggs again. You can get a powder for it. You put it in a pan, you mix it with water. It's disgusting. I'll never touch that. But there's other things out there I absolutely love, and some things that are actually nicer. But yeah, in regards to the gym for me, when I first went vegan, I felt stronger.
Mm.
My recovery's good. I'm now, and this was a really strange one. A lot of lads in the gym, you always hear them having some kind of shoulder injury because over the years they've hit their rotator cuff with shoulders and they're pressing heavy and all that kind of thing. My shoulders are pretty much brand new, but when I went vegan, I don't know what it was, but my shoulder was hurting, and it was to the point. When you like to sleep and put your arm under the pillow.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I literally couldn't do it, and I was reading up about going vegan, and that if you've got an injury, you depending on what the injury is, and I always thought about my shoulder at the time, that over a period of about 6 to 7 months, that might actually disappear because inflammation will again in your body disappear. So where every time you eat meat, it causes inflammation in your body.
Mm.
Obviously, when you go vegan, you're not eating meat, so that inflammation disappears. And literally 9 months, my shoulder out because I was constantly thinking about it, and I was like, I will see if this is true or not. It could have been a coincidence. I have no idea. I wasn't obviously getting it tested or looked at or anything. I was just looking at it myself. And 9 months later, that shoulder injury disappeared. But bear in mind, I probably had it for a couple of years and
Mm.
was just living with it. But yeah, I mean, my recovery's amazing. Like I'm in better shape now than what I was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I'm not a spring chicken. I'm in my 30s. I started looking at obviously the recommended daily allowance of all the vitamins and minerals that you need and require. because I actually overdosed on vitamins when I was younger. Again, thinking I was really healthy. I was taking like a zinc tablet of 25 milligrams. I was taking a multivitamin. I was eating all meat, loads of meat, drinking loads of milk and stuff. And my body was just getting so much of like zinc from all these different sources. But I obviously thought that I was super healthy because I was taking these different tablets and obviously eating meat and stuff. And I overdosed, and
Wow.
it's not an overdose like obviously
Yeah.
where but it was damaging to me joints, and that's when I went in because all my joints were just really swelled, and I didn't obviously understand what was happening. And all you need is the body, depending on whether you're male or female, but averagely requires about 11 milligrams of zinc on a daily basis. Well, I was taking a 25 milligram tablet by itself, and then a multivitamin with zinc in it. And then I was having protein powders, which also start throwing in vitamins. That's why I don't touch any proteins with all the vitamins and stuff in, because I measure now exactly what I'm getting from my food
Mm-hmm.
and on a supplement basis as well. So I know exactly where it's coming from. And
That
then
makes.
obviously, like I say, if you go vegan, you do want to. There's certain things that you should be taking that you wouldn't get from anywhere else, like a B12 as well.
Mm.
Vitamin D.
Zinc's a scary one. You know, if you take too much zinc, your eyes can go blurry. You can start projectile vomiting. It's yeah. When I first went vegan, I did exactly that. I started taking a zinc supplement, and I got sent home from work. I just felt really sick out of the blue, and I and then the next day I did the same thing at my desk, and they were like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then I realized, "What have you done? What have you changed in 2 days?" I was like, "Oh, I'm taking zinc supplements." So I'm like, "Okay, don't need them. That's good to know."
Yeah, you've got to be really careful, like you really have. But touching back on the B12, and when people talk about going vegan, they're kind of like, oh well, where are you getting this from or that from, the B12 from? And 9 times out of 10, they'll not know the answer themselves of what's the recommended daily allowance of it and how much are they actually getting. So, for example, meat. Who even knows how much zinc? How
Yeah.
much B12 you're getting from meat? You
Mm.
don't. You actually nobody has a clue because it's not in the packet.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah. Your friends and family have they kind of changed their views at all, or
Oh yeah, they have. So I remember, me mum's she's virtually vegan. My mum actually,
mm.
she'll have the odd treat here and there, but she's virtually vegan. I says it's quite funny. I says years ago you used to think you were teaching me how to be healthy. I says now how the tables have turned. Um, but again, like you said, touch on that point, that research, the internet and stuff, it wasn't, and all what you can research now wasn't really there back in the day when I was a kid. So
I mean, we've still got those myths to bust, haven't we? You know, that food tastes horrible, that vegans are hippies, that it's still out there. And you know what? But it's changing so much, like supply and demand and the popularity now of vegan food. It's, when the corporations start realizing how much money they can make from it, suddenly it's going to all change, like the advertising around it, and maybe the government will stop subsidizing farms in the future.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the things for me is like it's just so which I'll never understand is like, and I always say this: without your health, you have nothing. If you're
Mhm.
sat there lying on your deathbed or whatever, or you're ill, even if you're ill where you're bedbound, you're not doing anything, And if you're seriously ill, and you haven't got your health, you what can you do in life? You've got nothing. And I don't understand how people don't take their health seriously until actually something catches up with them. And
Mm.
like I said before, 90 to 95% of your chronic disease is because of your diet and lifestyle. The other 5 to 10% is genetic. So you're gonna, no matter how healthy you are, if there's something genetically within you that you're gonna get it regardless. But for me, if you've got 90% chance to make yourself healthier and not getting something that can potentially kill you, why the hell wouldn't you do it? Or why wouldn't you even take that seriously? Changing people's mindset is so hard. And there's another thing I seen again on Instagram. But I love stuff like this. And the doctor was talking about exactly what I've just said. But he said 70% of these chronic diseases are based around basically your diet, and in the intake of sugar. And some of the
Mm.
comments were just like they didn't believe him whatsoever at all. And I thought, wow, I was like, he's basically shown a factor there for you, and that it's just based on their opinion that they didn't believe it. It wasn't because they've went away and done the research or anything, or they've tried anything. It was just purely, well, I don't believe that, so it can't be true.
Oh
And it's
God.
kind of like trying to change these people's mindsets. It is difficult, but like I say, if you do the research and if you try it, then and it didn't work for you, then fair enough.
But yeah, it is a mindset. And that's why it's good to do these things where we get you on to talk about it because, you know, as I say, stalking your Instagram, you're a man with a counter of meat who's gone the other way and feels great for it.
Yeah.
And it
And
just
this is the
kind
thing,
of
I would
shows.
never ever go back. People like, would you
Yeah.
go back? And I'm like, well, no, because I know how much healthier and how much it benefited me doing changing. And like I say, there's some things out there that it does make life a little bit harder. And like I say, I am fanatical to the point where I wouldn't have anything at all. But everyone has their own choices and how they can change things. But at some point, I think, like I say, if it's your health, potentially your life at some point, then why wouldn't you take that seriously?
Yeah, it's crucial. It's very, very crucial. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us today. Is there anything, what have you got planned for the rest of the year? Is there anything you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, I've actually got something exciting, quite big, but I'm not sure that's actually happened, but I'm not sure I can
Oh, top secret.
actually mention it because I might get in trouble, so I'll not. Yeah, obviously I've got my JG Fitness, which I'm currently working on. That's one of my big things, jgfitness.com. Where obviously I'm just changing some people's lives around and transformations, getting them healthier, getting them fitter, getting them in shape for summer. And yeah, that like I say, I've got something big coming out that in a couple of months. This is more TV work, should I say, TV based. So it should be fun.
Excellent. So kind of watch this space for now.
Yeah.
And don't get you in trouble. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. It's been really nice to hear about it, especially from the sort of health and fitness side of things. Because like you say, we do get a lot of people who go vegan for the animals. And so it's really nice to hear that you've just kind of lived through changing your diet completely and you see the health benefits. So yeah, it's been great having you on.
It's amazing. Thanks for having us.
No, you're welcome. All right. Well, you take care.
You too. Cheers, Faye.
So Faye, I've never in my life seen an episode of Geordie Shore, so have zero knowledge about the show, but I'm assuming by the sounds of it, it just featured a load of young people up north getting drunk.
Up north in Newcastle, the land of the Geordies. Yeah, basically, and getting up to all sorts of frivolous behaviours while getting absolutely mortal out on the toon.
Brilliant. And Jay's a big part of that then. He's probably one of the most recognisable from the show.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it many, many years ago, and I only watched half of season 1 to be completely honest, but it was funny. It was just, I was like, what on earth is going on? It was a lot of fun.
And how does that compare to Love Island though? Because that's the big thing at the minute, isn't it?
Well, I don't watch it. This is the problem with Love Island. I've never seen it, but it's probably something very, very similar. Is that just people being drunk on an island?
I assume so. Yeah, I assume so. But I mean, it's interesting that Jay's going back, I guess, after a big hiatus. He's now going back to the show.
Yeah, when we recorded it, I think that was the clanger he was trying not to drop because he wasn't sure if he could reveal it or not.
Yeah, but we'd already Googled it and knew it anyway. So sorry, Jay, and audience, spoiler alert, we already knew the secret. So we're telling everybody Jay is actually returning to Love Island.
No, Geordie Shore. They're interchangeable, it's fine. But yeah, he is, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on now that he's in his 30s, as he says, he's no spring chicken.
And he's vegan.
And just, they can't be going through the amount of carnage that I saw from their 20s. They just can't.
But I tell you what's probably going to be more challenging for him is to get in his 30 billion fruits and vegetables a day when he's restricted to... Well, it's not like Big Brother, is it? They're not in a house and confined.
They are in a house. They're not confined because they go out. But I don't know how else they go out. You know, between the house and between going to nightclubs. Unless he just takes like smoothies with him and just adds vodka to them or something.
Yeah, but have you ever heard anybody get so excited about fruit and vegetables either? I mean, that's legendary in its own right. So well done, Jay. You've really inspired us to start eating more fruits and vegetables. I'll certainly be having salad for my dinner this evening.
And we hear a lot about people going vegan for animals, don't we? I mean, that's the predominant reason people do it. And quite a lot around climate change, especially with younger people. But for somebody to go completely from eating meat and dairy overnight to switching to a fully vegan diet, I know he said he did his research, but it's a big commitment and it's a big change, I think. Because, we sort of talk to do, Viva especially talks about doing simple swaps and kind of, there's an integration process, isn't there, with people?
Yeah, and he's not your stereotypical vegan. So I think for young men especially, he's somebody that they can really look up to for being... I had to Google pictures of him after the interview because I was like, what does this guy even look like? And he's ripped. Like, he's absolutely ripped. So he's clearly doing something right in terms of his health and fitness journey. It just goes to show that you don't miss out on anything by being vegan. He's clearly done his research. He knows a lot about what nutrition he needs, what his body needs, what vitamins he needs. But for anybody that is unsure of where to start, then you can head to viva.org.uk/health, and there's a whole heap of information for you to read through on there.
Yeah, and Viva's been doing a lot of work on the health and fitness side of things. We launched a campaign last year to really speak to 18 to 35-year-old men. And we've got some exciting news actually coming up about that. Not to give too much away.
Give us a cryptic clue.
A cryptic clue. Well, we're going to have some health and fitness ambassadors that are going to be partnering with Viva just to kind of reach that male audience of health and fitness nuts. So really excited to talk about that a little bit more. But before we do kind of sign off, I have to say, trying to find a photo of Jay to go along to accompany this podcast where he isn't just showing off how ripped he is, topless or with his top pulled up, it was really difficult. So
Did you manage to find one?
I did. It was really funny. I was sat in the office and I said to one of the girls in there that I'm spending quite a lot of my day just looking at topless men on the internet, it looks like.
Yeah, it's amazing what counts as work these days, huh? Anyway, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And we'll see you next month when we've got lots more exciting stuff to share with you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.